Hey everyone, today we're going to be reviewing graphing linear functions. So typically we see linear functions in slope-intercept form. So that's the most popular way. That is the y equals mx plus b, which I'm sure you've seen before, where m is the slope. And remember, slope is usually seen as a fraction, which is like our rise over run. And b is the y-intercept, and that is usually where we start the function. So we first graph the y-intercept, and then we do our slope from there. Standard form is another way we're going to see it, and that's when you see them with x and y on the same side. So the way that's written is usually ax plus by equals c, where a, b, and c are all numbers. But we have that x and y, so we have to rearrange it. We have to solve for y. So that's why we were practicing those literal equations, where we are going to rearrange it and get y by itself. So let's take a look at this. So in this first one, we have y equals mx plus b. So I know my slope is that -2 over 5. And the b, or the y-intercept, is at 7. So when I graph this, I'm going to go to a y-intercept of 7 first and put a point. And then from there, because it's a -2, I'm going to go down 2 and then to the right 5. So I like to think about that as the negatives with the 2, so I'm going down, but the 5 is positive, so I want to go in the positive direction. So we go down 2 to the right 5, put a point. We also could continue the pattern to the left, so we could go up 2 to the left 5, and that would also continue the pattern in the straight line. But negative slopes should be going downhill from left to right. So if you put a little person on it, they should be following down the hill from left to right whenever you have a negative slope. All right, number 2, our slope. Oh, there's an invisible 1 in front, and if I want to make that a fraction, I could put a 1 underneath it. And our y-intercept is 2. So for my slope, this time it's positive, so I'm going to go up and to the right because both of them are positive. So up 1 to the right 1, up 1 to the right 1, or down 1 to the left 1 if I want to continue the pattern that way. Number 3 is where it looks a little different. So here, we're not in slope-intercept form. We've got an x and y on the same side. So we've been practicing this. We know how to rearrange. So I'm going to move the x to the other side. So we've got 3y equals, and y equals mx plus b. I really like the x to be first. So I'm going to put the x first and then the -15 after it. Make sure you keep the same signs with them. So there was a negative x and it's a -15. In front of that negative x, I'm going to put the invisible 1 because I just like for there to be a 1 there. Then we're going to divide by 3 everywhere to get y by itself. So we're left with y equals -1/3 x minus 5. So here our slope is the -1 over 3, and our b is -5. So we're going to put a point at -5. And then our slope is -1, so down 1, positive 3, so down 1 to the right 3, down 1 to the right 3, or up 1 to the left 3. I would advise trying 4 on your own before watching it. So 4, we can turn our slope into a fraction, because I always like my slope to be a fraction. And my b is -9, so we're starting down at -9, and we're going up 2 over 1. All right, when you're ready, flip the page. Okay, these are in standard form again, so we've got to rearrange. Ooh, that's weird. Okay, so 6, I want to get y alone. So right now it's a -5x, so I'm going to do the opposite and add it. So we've got 6y equals, this time the 5x is positive, so I'm going to write positive 5x and then a -12 because it's a -12. And then we're getting y alone, so I'm going to divide by 6 everywhere. So y equals 5/6 x minus 2. So that means our slope is 5/6, our b is -2. So I'm going to start at -2, and then it's positive, so I'm going to go up and to the right, or down and to the left, and connect my points. Number 7 is similar, except I've got a fraction, which I know can be kind of startling, but I think we can deal with it, because all we're trying to do is get y alone. So I'm going to subtract the 1/6x to move it to the other side. And we want our slope to be a fraction anyway, so it's okay that it's a fraction. And then I don't want to have a negative y. We've got to get rid of that negative. So there's an invisible -1 here, so I could divide everything by -1. So we're left with y equals negative divided by a negative is a positive 1/6, and a negative divided by a negative is a positive 2. So our slope is positive 1/6, our b is 2. So we're going to start at 2 and go up 1 over 6, or down 1 to the left 6. That wasn't the best line, but you get the idea. All right, the last thing we're going to review are horizontal and vertical lines. So I don't tend to use this, but you may have seen a teacher in the past use Hooy-Vux. So we're working with horizontal and vertical lines. So horizontal is that Hooy. So horizontal lines have 0 slope and it's a y equals equation. So if you have like y equals 2 or y equals -5, so it's y equals a number and there's no x, that's when it's going to be horizontal and have a slope of 0. The Vux part of Hooy-Vux is a vertical line. Vertical lines go this direction. Horizontal lines go this direction. Vertical lines have an undefined slope and they have an x equals equation. So that would be like x equals 3 or x equals -7. So if you ever have x equals a number, that's going to be a vertical line. So it might help to have 2 different colors, or you can just label. But here we have x equals 5. So they want you to graph 2 equations on the same graph. So just to save space, I think. Sorry. Okay. So I'm going to go to x is 5 and put a point. So the way I remember that it's a vertical line is that I want a line that cuts through that point. So I don't want it to be like on top of the x-axis. I want it to cut through the x-axis. So that one is x equals 5. Versus y equals -3, if I put a point there. If I want it to cut through the y-axis, it has to be a horizontal line. So next one we have y equals -1, so I put x equals -1, so I put a point there. And then our line needs to cut through the x-axis. And y equals 5, you can put a point there. And then I want a line that cuts through the y-axis. So that would be a horizontal line. All right, I think that's it. So good luck, and I hope that was a good review of graphing lines.